Today, we're going to talk about a future that's showing up way, way faster than anyone really expected. We're talking about a world where you can call a taxi that has no driver, and it's not science fiction. Nope, it's happening right now on a massive scale in China. So let's dive in. Okay, to really get a sense of the scale here, just look at this number, 14 million. And that's not the total for the whole country. That's the number of rides from just one company, Baidu's Apollo Go, as of August 2024. This isn't some small-time pilot program. This is a full-blown mass market service that millions of people are using. And that right there is the key thing you need to understand. China has blown right past the experimental phase. What we're seeing now is the rapid build-out of a commercial, completely driverless public transport network that's operating in some of the biggest and most complicated cities in the world. Now, what's really fascinating here is that this revolution isn't just happening in one spot. It's a huge, coordinated push across the whole country. You've got Wuhan, which is the undisputed world leader in just sheer volume, running driverless cars 24/7. Then there's Beijing, which is setting the rules of the road for the whole world, with a test zone that's almost 5 times the size of Tokyo. Guangzhou is rolling out commercial routes to airports, and Shanghai has this wild goal of over 6 million driverless trips by 2027. Each city is playing its own unique but critical part. So, first up, let's take a closer look at how this tech is already getting woven into daily life, because, it goes way beyond just calling a cab. So yeah, the robot taxis get all the headlines, but this autonomous tech is quietly transforming a whole bunch of city services. In logistics, for example, you've got these autonomous vans that are cutting delivery costs in half. For public transit, they're driverless robobuses solving that tricky last-mile problem, getting commuters from the metro station to their doorstep. Even things like street sweeping are now being automated in Beijing. And all of this is happening on a massive national network of over 32,000 kilometers of roads that are already open for autonomous vehicle testing. So that begs the big question, right? How on earth did this happen so fast? What are the specific forces that are just turbocharging this whole thing? Well, it turns out it's two powerful engines working together. And this slide really breaks it down perfectly. On one hand, you have this top-down push from the government. They're creating this legal and regulatory sandbox, basically a safe space for these companies to operate and innovate like crazy. And at the exact same time, you have this bottom-up pull from insane corporate competition. Companies like Baidu and Pony.ai are in a flat-out race to get their tech out there and slash costs faster than everyone else. Let's dig into that government push for a second. This isn't just passive support, This is an active, strategic mission. For China, these policies are a core part of their national strategy to become the world leader in huge technologies like AI. So by creating these massive test zones, passing friendly laws, and building smart infrastructure, the government is intentionally creating an environment where this industry can just scale up faster than anywhere else on the planet. And here's the other side of that coin, summed up perfectly by the VP of Pony.ai. The entire game is about one word, scale. They know that once they hit that magic number of vehicles, the whole economic model just flips on its head. Every new car they add costs less to run, and that's when the profits really start to roll in. This is the finish line that's driving all that fierce competition. Which leads us to maybe the most critical piece of the whole story, the economics. Because for this revolution to actually stick, it can't just be cool tech. It has to be cheaper than what we have now. This chart right here, this is the entire economic story in a nutshell. I mean, just look at this. Only 2 years ago, the annual cost of a robotaxi was way more than a regular taxi with a human driver. But today, with their brand new vehicles, that cost has just plummeted to 100,000 yuan. That's significantly less than a traditional taxi. This is the crossover point. This is the moment driverless doesn't just become possible, it becomes economically better. So how did they pull off such an insane cost reduction? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is in the car's parts. Take LiDAR, for instance. That's basically the eyes of the autonomous car. 5 years ago, a single one of these units cost over 1 million yuan. Today, thanks to mass production and innovation, that price has collapsed to around 50,000 yuan. It's this radical drop in the price of essential parts that's making the whole economic model work. Okay, just a super quick technical note here. When we talk about these truly driverless services, what we're really talking about is something called Level 4 or L4 autonomy. And this is key. It means the car can handle everything by itself in most situations, no human backup driver needed. That is the magic that lets these companies get rid of their single biggest cost, the driver. All right, so the tech is here, the economics are starting to make sense. So what's next? What does the horizon for this whole autonomous revolution actually look like? 500,000. Get this. That's the number of robo-taxis Goldman Sachs thinks will be on China's roads by 2030. Now, to put that into perspective, today there are maybe 4,000. We're talking about a massive leap from a niche service to a totally mainstream way of getting around the city. And all that growth, well, it translates into a mind-boggling market. McKinsey is forecasting that the money made from autonomous mobility in China will be more than $500 billion by 2030. This is, without a doubt, one of the biggest economic shifts of our lifetime. Of course, it's not all smooth sailing from here. There are still some pretty big hurdles to get over. The technical challenge of making these systems perfectly safe is enormous, and building public trust is just as important. And then beyond a tech, there are these tough new questions for regulators. Who's legally responsible in a crash? How do we protect our data? These aren't just tech problems. They're huge societal questions we have to answer to make sure these systems fit into our communities smoothly. So here's the bottom line. The technology is here, and the costs are dropping like a rock. This isn't a question of if it's going to happen anymore, but really how fast and how deep this change is going to be. And I want to leave you with this final thought. When the cost of a trip gets close to zero, it changes everything. It's not just going to reshape our daily commute, but the very design of our cities and the fabric of our lives. And that is the true horizon for autonomy. このチャンネルが興味深いと思った方は、チャンネル登録といいねボタンをよろしくお願いします。